Thomas is a delightful community, friendly and warm. I had no idea what to expect when I first came here because I was looking for a community when I left my Presbyterian community of most of my adult life. I've been a Presbyterian most of my adult life since I became a Christian. And to convert to an Anglican community was a big change. And to find an Anglican community as warm and delightful as this has been a wonderful experience.
When we moved out to Pine Township, we did not know anyone. We were at the end of where the cornfields used to begin, and Treesdale orchards took up a lot of Pine Township north of us. And we didn't have a church. We had left our community church from our previous home. And we decided, we'll let the two daughters, who were 4 and 7, we'll take them and see where they feel happy. So we visited all the different denominations out here on Route 8, on Route 910, and we'd come out of the service and there was no response from either of the girls. Well, we came finally to St. Thomas and went through the service. They went to the Sunday school. And when we came out, Mommy, Mommy, both of them, can we come back? We had such a good time. And the little children led us to St. Thomas. But my husband and I, we loved good choir music. They had a superb choir. The choir of the church we came from, So it pleased the adults in that they had a wonderful choir and a good organist. And the children, they never fought to get up and get dressed and get out the door on Sunday morning. So a little child led us, and here we are 35 years later, and the superb family that I have here. Amen, sister and brother.
I just remember when Catherine and I were looking for a church just after we got married. We were visiting several different Anglican churches in Pittsburgh area, and we came to St. Thomas and just felt like the warmth of hospitality that is here. Everybody was interested, genuinely interested in who we were and what our story was, and there wasn't any like, oh, you have to come because you're a young couple and we really need you, or disinterest, but just a general interest in why we were here and accepting no matter what our thoughts were and what our story was.
Well, we were church shopping, okay, and we ended up stopping into St. Thomas, and the first person we saw was Jim Shantz, and he was the backhoe operator in our plan when we were building our home. So it was like, oh, there's Jim the backhoe guy.
Yeah, and then we came to know a few people when we met Patty Navilia, and it just so happens that Patty has the same birthday, day, year as my oldest sister Debbie that passed away in 1991. So we knew, we're like, this is where God wants us.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, being here as a new member, we just moved to the Gibsonia area, and we found that through Bill Woods that the church was here, and we came to visit and felt very comfortable from the very beginning and stayed.
St. Thomas has always been my church family since I've been in the Pittsburgh area. I was what you would call a cradle Episcopalian to start with, and now I'm not anymore because I'm an Anglican.
There you go. Thank you.
Oh, but St. Thomas has just been really good. I have really fond memories of Vacation Bible School. There was a program that Debbie Sellers was in. It was called Something's Up down in Bethlehem, and the music from that still sticks in my mind. We had potluck suppers after Bible studies, which were wonderful. And things currently now, I really appreciate the fact that St. Thomas supports me in my work with residents at St. Barnabas. I'm so grateful that it started with Father Dan coming to share communion, Father Ron, Bob Lytle came, and now Father Chris is coming with us. And it's wonderful when the choir comes at Christmas and in the spring and shares their joy and music with my residents. St. Thomas has just been a really nice part of my life.
Everybody welcomed us, everybody was glad to see us, and I was glad to see everybody here. When we first came, two of the people that welcomed us were Janet Taku and Eliza Miller, who did a lot of the artwork and were instrumental in actually building the church. The building, that is. The church, of course, being the people who worship in the building. And that's something that has always impressed me. It's always about the people. And the people of St. Thomas have always shown love, they've always shown compassion, they've always cared for me, and they have always held me up in prayer, myself and my family, helped me raise my children, and helped strengthen my marriage. And I don't think I would be here today without my St. Thomas family. It's very important to me, and I look forward to seeing what's going to happen over the next few years that I'm still here. And I'm sure that God has exciting things in store for St. Thomas.
My greatest memory is the tsunami of prayer I received when my brother Stephen Swen died. I had prayers from the DA's office, the public defender's office, the judges, and some of the investigators, and St. Thomas. That I will never, ever forget.
They prayed us through thick and thin, good times and bad times. There's nothing like coming here and knowing that you can ride on it. You can ride on it sometimes. You just know it's there. What can I say? You know, they're always very welcoming, and I can't think of any place else that I would rather be than St. Thomas Church in the Fields.
His family came a little after ours, and Jim has many younger siblings, and I have a few younger siblings. And it was just a time, you know, our parents were friends, and of course Jim was much younger than me, but I didn't hold it against him.
I don't know about much.
And it's just a time, we've been here a long time, and we've grown in our faith here. Actually, all of us collectively together. Dave and I were at Jim and Kathy's wedding the year before we got married.
Yes.
And Dave and I were married in this chapel.
Yep.
The next year.
And I can say my first biggest one was how much this is a family, not just a church, but a family when we lost our first child in 1981. And he is in the columbarium here. And the support and love that came out of St. Thomas for some new people, I mean, myself being new. So the support that were received, and then, and I'm sure Dave and Betty Ann had the same type of experience.
This has been a place of love and acceptance and understanding that I don't believe happens everywhere. Dave came with me
a couple years before.
even before we were married. And I remember our first Christmas together that we went to his home church for worship. And then we came here for worship for the late service. And Dave said to me, you know what, this is where I want to be. And that was over 40 years ago.
Yep.
And we've raised our children together.
Yes.
Our parents raised us together, now we've raised our children, and now our children are having their children. And they're still coming here. And I just feel that that's a blessing that many people don't fully understand. And Jim and I, we were talking about how we need to remember the people, the saints that have gone on, that are buried behind us. Our parents, family, our little ones who we lost as tiny ones, and other family members that are here behind us in this columbarium.
Well, St. Thomas for me has been a great place to kind of begin to finish out my retirement. So it's just full of a lot of good, loving folks, and it's got a wonderful spirit and life to it. So.
Is there something fun here that you like?
Sunday school.
Sunday school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do you like Sunday school?
Because there's lots of people there.
Mm-hmm.
John?
I always enjoyed doing the spaghetti dinners and ski trips. It was just a lot of fun to go somewhere together as a group when we were younger and learn about God and have a lot of fun at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, while we were looking for churches, we moved to the area. We had went around to a bunch of different churches, and I think this one was the first one that my wife and I felt at home. You know, there was a sense of community, and the one, I think, maybe determining factor was Glenn and Donna. They were the DJs for Kristen and I's wedding, and we had no idea. We walked in the first day, and there they are. So it was a perfect fit from the beginning. So.
Well, I like to say that I got here to the Pittsburgh area because I was kidnapped. But I have a son in Texas, and I have a son that's a federal agent here in Pittsburgh. And they decided that, you know, everybody was gone, that I should sell my house and so on. And I didn't. And they sent a realtor from Pittsburgh. And I said, you know, I don't want to move. He said, your son already warned me, so don't worry about it, you know. And so to make a long story short, the house sold. I ended up.
Well, what brought you to St. Thomas? What brought you to the church? Was it the bells? Was it, what brought you here?
I think it was through Father Ron. It was through Father Ron.
Okay.
Okay, it was through his outreach.
Good.
And you know, it's been a good thing. I haven't officially joined yet. I'm looking to do that now. But it was through Father Ron, and everything that he said certainly.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory of church?
Christmas.
Christmas. Oh. My favorite memory of church. Oh, why? Why?
Because it's fun to sing all kinds of different songs.
Mm-hmm. You guys perform really well at the front too. Yeah. My favorite memory was the very first time we came. I remember feeling so welcomed from day one. And I remember Donna Goss finding us after church and giving us the welcome bag. And, you know, I don't even remember what was in it. It didn't matter what was in it. It was just really special. And that was my favorite memory the first time we came.
When we first came, the youth groups here were large with lots of young teenagers and stuff, and we really liked that, and our kids liked that, so we became real involved with the Breakfast Bunch and missions and all that involved with fundraising for the missions, and it got me set on really liking to do missions for a long time, so that's my memory.
I like coming here. It would come in early service, and Cosmo stays in a car, of course. But we like coming because of the power of the prayer and the people, and also the love and the support and the many blessings.
St. Thomas means so much to me. As a kid, I used to drive up and down Route 8 in the early 1960s, and I can remember seeing this building that didn't look like a church to me, because I grew up as a Catholic, and Catholic churches were big and high with great big steeples, and this didn't look like a church. And I kept thinking, I wonder what that church is like, because it looked so contemporary. 25 years later, as a young family, my wife Sue and I and our kids came here in 1978 when we were living out this way to find a church, and actually fell in love with this church. And it's actually the place where I came to really understand the gospel and what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. I knew a lot about the church as a Catholic growing up, but I didn't know very much about the gospel. And so I learned it and really came to faith, personal faith here at St. Thomas. And then ultimately this church sponsored me for ordination, and it is a tremendous blessing and an honor to be able to serve here now as their rector.